Hi, I'm Bonnie Barker with BonnieBayCrochet.com, and today we are going to make a bathroom mat. This is still an easy beginner project, even though it looks a little complex. This is a stitch called the basket weave, and you will not believe how easy it is to crochet. So come along with me and I'll show you how to do this right now. For this project, I'm going to be using 2 scans, although some people call this particular shape of a yarn a cake, believe it or not. I'm going to need 2 of these. This is by Stitch Studio by Nicole. It's called Macaron. This is a yarn that is commonly available in AC Moore stores in the United States. Now, you don't have to use this exact yarn. If you can find something similar in texture to this, by all means, alter what I'm going to teach you and use the yarn that you think is suitable to this project. Okay, so here is some of the information on this particular yarn. This is 100% polyester. There is approximately 258 yards or 234 meters in each cake or scan. And that would give you a total of 516 yards that we're going to be using for this project. For those of you in the UK, this would be 300 grams, or in the US, 10.50 ounces, should you need that information. This is a bulky weight, or a number 5 weight yarn, and I am going to be using a size K, or 10.5, or 6.50 millimeter crochet hook. And as always, I recommend that you keep a yarn needle handy and a pair of sharp scissors so that we can hide our loose ends once we finish. Okay, well, let's go ahead. And before we get started, I did want to say something about shopping for this yarn, should you not have any in your stash. Okay, I want you to notice how the color changes on this to these 4 different colors. Okay, I just wanted to tell you my plan in the beginning, and that is for this particular rug, I'm going to start with the light color. Then I'm going to go into the dark color. Now the other scan that I have looks just about exactly like this one. And I did that on purpose because I want this rug to be as symmetrical as possible. So what I'm going to do is when I get down to the end, I'm going to be in the darkest color. And then on the other scan, I'm going to connect the dark color right to this so that it goes from on one end from the light to the dark and from the dark back to the light again. So it'll be, very symmetrical. Now, if you wanted to do, just, light to dark and then light to dark, that's fine too. But I think I'm going to like doing it this way. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and begin with our slip knot. And as always, you may want to try to, crochet this chain a little on the looser side. Just so that you have room to work in it. Also, this yarn is a little on the fuzzy side. It's going to be harder to see what you're doing at first. So we're going to be more dependent on our touch or the nerve endings in our fingers, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But we're going to start by chaining 52 chains. Okay, so go ahead and chain those 52 chains. Okay, now that I've completed my 52 chains, we are going to begin by working a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. Now, it might be kind of hard to see which chain that will be, but I'm going to go ahead and I can feel this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is the 4th. So I'm going to start right here, and I am going to depend, like I said before, on my fingers to tell me where to put the hook. And it's very important that we put 1 double crochet in each chain. Okay, so go ahead and work 1 of those in every chain all the way across. These are double crochets. And at the end of this row, you should have a total of 49 double crochets. Now, in that 49 stitch count, I am not counting the turning chain as a double crochet, just to be clear. I'm just counting the double crochet stitches, so go ahead. You should have 49 all the way across. At the end of this row, I have 49 double crochets, and I went ahead and double checked by counting before I'm going on. And it's very important that you do that as well. Make sure that you do have 49 stitches because The stitch that we're going to do from this point on is very much dependent on math. Okay, it has to be a multiple of 6 plus 1. Let me go ahead and say that too, because a lot of you will inevitably want to make your rug smaller or larger. And if you want to make your rug larger, all you need to do is add a multiple of 6 to the starting chain, or you can subtract a multiple of 6 from the starting chain, and that will adjust the size either larger or smaller. Now we're going to go ahead and turn, and we're going to chain 2. Now this is where it gets interesting. And if you're a beginner, I still think this is very, very, very achievable. I've taught this stitch to children in elementary school and even to one child who had a brain disorder. It took her a few more teaching times, but she was able to master this stitch beautifully. So I'm going to go very slow. And again, if I am still going too fast, right on the bottom right side of your screen here, you'll see a little gear icon. If you just click that, you can actually pick what speed you want this video to replay at, and you can slow me down quite a bit. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to work double crochets, but we're going to work front post double crochets in the first 3 stitches. And the way we do that is we wrap our stitch the way we normally would for a double crochet. Instead of working in through the tops, we're not going to do that. It's actually going to be easier to do what I'm going to show you. You're going to put your hook in to the side, and it's going to go all the way around the body like you're giving this double crochet a belt. Wrap your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Just complete that double crochet stitch the way you normally would. Notice that we did not work in this first stitch. We're going to skip that first stitch as we work the basket weave. And part of the reason for that is it would just look really weird if we started here. It would be bulging on the side, and we want a nice straight edge. We're going to do this 2 more times. We wrap our hook, we bring our hook around the body of the stitch like you're giving it a belt, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to do that 1 more time. Yarn over, the needle is going around, giving the next stitch a belt, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, now those are front post double crochets. Now the way we get the basket weave effect is by working front post, and then we work back post double crochets. And I'm going to show you how to do the back post right now. Yarn over, and instead of going in the front door, we're going to come in the back door, and then our hook's going to go around, and then it's going to go out the back again. We're like tying the belt in the back this time. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to do that 2 more times. Yarn over, come into do the next stitch, and the hook goes around like it's giving it a belt. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. 1 more time. Yarn over, going to come into the next stitch. The hook again goes around and towards the back. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Let's stop and pause a second. So here we have 3 front post double crochets, and then we have 3 back post double crochets. So what we're going to do is we're going to alternate this back and forth, 3 in the front, or 3 front post double crochets, and then 3 back post double crochets all the way across the row. It's really important that you do these in groups of 3. All right, let's go ahead and do 3 more front post double crochets. I'm going to try to do this as slowly as I can. We're tying this belt in the front for the front post double crochets as you just complete your normal double crochets. It's just putting it in a different place. Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3 front post. Now we're going to do 3 back post. The hook comes around the back, goes around the front, and then out the side door there. Let me get some more yarn. And then the next stitch. You also may find that working with this kind of yarn will make your hands a little more tired because it does have more friction as you form the stitches. Okay, so now we have 2 sets. We have 3 front posts, 3 back posts, 3 front posts, 3 back posts, and you can already feel how nice and squishy this is going to be on your toes when you use this rug. I'm thinking about putting this in my children's bathroom upstairs. This is going to be a really nice addition. Okay, so I'm just completing those 3 front post double crochets, and that's time to do 3 more back post double crochets. Just doing the same thing over and over. Okay, make sure that you do pause and you count. If you can't see the stitches very well, again, use those nerve endings in those fingers and you can count them. Well, I'm going to go ahead and work this all the way across the row. I've just completed working this all the way across. It's going to be 8 repeats of the 3 front post double crochet and 3 back post double crochet. And then after that, we're going to work a half double crochet right into this hole here. And this is the way you make a half double crochet in case you're not familiar with this stitch. You wrap the hook the way you normally would, insert into the stitch, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3. It's as simple as that. Now we're going to turn our work to work row number 3, which is very similar to row number 2. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to, again, we're not going to work in this stitch, which was that half double crochet. We will never work in those stitches in this project. Now we're going to work again 3 front post double crochets, just like we did before, and then we're going to work 3 back post double crochets. And this row is easier, I believe, because if it looks like a back post, you're going to work a back post. Those are the more recessed stitches, and the stitches that are kind of poofed out in the front, those are those front post stitches. So if it's a front post double crochet, you work a front post. If it's a back post, you work a back post over that. So I'm going to do the next 3 with you, front posts and the next 3 stitches. And again, you're going to be, make sure you are just continuing to use your fingers to help you even to know where the stitch goes. These 2 fingers are very helpful in letting me know that I've gone around the entire stitch, and they kind of guide my work. And now we do 3 back post double crochets. 1, 2, oops, let me try that one again. It kind of got away from me. And also notice that the weave on this, using this particular size hook, is much more on the tighter side than I would use, say, for a garment. And that's because you want this to be, it should be a nice tight weave. Okay, so I just did those 3 back post double crochets. Let's go ahead, I'll do this again with you. 3 front post double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And now we're going to do 3 back post double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And let's take a pause and look at what you should have. So this is what you should have at this point. And these rows might be really hard to see, but they're very easy to feel. 1, 2, 3. So you can see that there are 3 rows. Go ahead and finish this all the way across. at the end of this row, just like we did at the end of row 2, we work a half double crochet, which is where you wrap the hook, insert into that chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Okay, now we're going to begin row number 4, and this is where things change up just a little bit, and this is where we get the basket weave effect. We're going to chain 2. Now we're going to do the opposite of what we see. We see that we have 3 front post double crochets. We're going to work 3 back post double crochets over these. We're going to come in the back door and we work that back post double crochet over the first 3 stitches. Well, actually second, third, and fourth stitch, because as usual we're not going to work in this stitch along the edge. Okay, so that's 2 and a third back post double crochet, and then here we have the next 3 stitches. We had worked back post double crochets. Now we're going to switch that and we're going to work 3 front post double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, see what I've just done there? It's probably not real easy to see now, but in a couple of rows you're going to really see this woven effect. I know it looks complicated to look at the project, but once you work it with me step by step, it kind of demystifies it all, and I hope you have that aha moment as you see this. It's not as hard as it looks, and as most of the projects on my channel, they may look complicated, but that's just going to be a secret between me and you. Because in reality, each stitch, if you take it stitch by stitch, line by line, row by row, it is just using the basic crochet stitches, but maybe in a slightly different way. It's still, though, the basic crochet stitches, which is why I'm even calling this an easy beginner project, because when you see it demonstrated, it really is an easy project. Okay, so let's continue along this row. Now remember, this row we're doing the opposite of what we see. We have 3 front post double crochets, but we're going to work 3 back post double crochets over those. And 1 more. Okay, now the next 3 stitches are back post double crochets from the last row, so we're going to go ahead and work 3 front post over those to just continue changing this up, which is, this row is really the row that forms the actual weave effect. Okay, so let's go ahead and pause again. Okay, so do you see that? All right, I'm going to do one more set with you before I send you on your way to the rest of this row. We're going to go ahead, we have 3 front post double crochet, so go ahead and work 3 back post double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Well, let me try that one. That loop got away from me, so I'll go ahead and do that. So if that, that happens to you, well, it happens to me too. All right, so let's take a look at what we have there. There's the 3 back posts. So the next 3 are going to be, we're going to work front post here to reverse what we have going. So 3 front post double crochet. Now this is a very visual project, so I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of this row, but what I want you to do when you get to the end of it is you need to make sure that as you go across that each of these has been reversed. Okay, so you started out with 3 back posts, then 3 front posts, 3 back posts, 3 front posts, back, front. Make sure and double check to make sure that it is alternating just like that all the way across. And just like the other rows, this ends by working a half double crochet in that turning chain space. All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at what we should have here.
Notice how each row has been reversed from front post to back post and back post to front post. Okay, so now the next two rows, rows 5 and 6, are actually worked the same. We're going to turn our work at the end of every row. We're going to chain 2 to begin, and we are going to first work 3 back post double crochets. Now for the next two rows, we're going to work just what we see. If we see back post double crochets, we're going to work back post double crochets. So we work 3 back post double crochets, and then after that we're going to work 3 front post double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to have you do that all the way across. So I'll go ahead and do the next 6 stitches with you. If you see a back post, we're going to work 3 back posts. We're not reversing anything. We're just following along with what the pattern is doing. So 3 back post double crochets. And we'll keep having to get more yarn because this yarn gets used up so quickly. And then 3 front post double crochets. Let's take a pause and show you how this pattern is coming along. See how much better that looks? Okay, so continue that all the way across. If it's back post, work back post. If it's front post, work front post over those stitches. This row ends again with a half double crochet in that turning chain space, and then we're going to turn. And one way to find out which row you're going to do, whether it's back post or front post to begin, you can always count the number of rows, and you can do that by feeling this. So this is 1, 2 rows. So we're going to need 3 rows of each before we switch. So go ahead and chain 2 for that turning chain, and since we've only worked 2 rows of this with the stitches that are the same, we're going to go ahead and work another row following along with what we see. So this is back post double crochet. We're going to again skip this first one and work 3 back post double crochet. Okay. Let me get some more yarn. And then the next 3 stitches that we see were front post double crochet. So go ahead and work 3 front post double crochet. And this is row number 6. Okay, so we're going to repeat that all the way across. 3 back post double crochets followed by 3 front post double crochets. At the end of this row, we work a half double crochet again in that turning chain space, and then we go ahead and turn. And I want to show you how again to count these rows, because it might be a little confusing because we only really worked the basket weave stitch for 2 of these rows. However, that first row we did, which was the double crochet, counts as one of those rows. So we have 1, 2, I can feel the stitches with my fingers here, and then 3, those 3 rows, and then we have another 1, 2, 3 rows here. So it's time to switch the stitches again. So if, in other words, if we see the back post, now we need to do front post, and if we see the front post, we need to do back post to continue the basket weave pattern. So remember that every 3 rows you're going to be switching, starting with the various stitches. So we used back post before, so now we're going to start with front post here to reverse this. And do a visual check like I did before. At the end of this row, make sure that you carefully check to make sure that every every little basket weave has been reversed. Okay, so I've just did 3 front posts over where back posts were before, and we had worked front post here. So now we're going to work 3 back posts to reverse that. I hope that's not too complicated. Okay, so it's 1, 2, and 3 stitches. I'll do a couple more with you because this is where mistakes are going to come in if we get mistakes in our work. It's when we switch. We either forget to switch or we don't switch them all. Okay, so 3 front post double crochets because these were back posts before. And 3. Now we're going to do 3 back post double crochets. 1, 2, 3. The probably the biggest challenge of this project, I would say, it's not so much the basket weave stitch, but it's working with the thicker yarn, like I said before. And if you worked a couple rows and you find your hands are really, really tired or your arms are really tired, take a break, okay? Because this can really be stressful on your hands if you're not used to it. And even though I kind of am used to it, but I do not sit down and do a complete project using the thicker yarn with more friction for that very reason. I want to try to preserve the muscles in my hands. Okay, so now we have 3 back posts. Let's go ahead and work 3 front post double crochets. And now that we have 3 front posts here, we're going to reverse that and do 3 back posts. I know I'm doing more here, but I just want to make sure that you do have clarity and understanding. Okay, I'm going to pause here. And let's take a look again at what we have. So you can see that pattern developing quite nicely. We'll go ahead and finish this row. At the end of this row, I'm just going to work another half double crochet right into that chain 3 space. Let's go ahead and turn. And you can see that I've come into the new color, and I just continued on crocheting just like I normally would. And as you can see, it's going to have some more added interest as the color changes, and this rug is going to be completely reversible. So now I'm going to give you some instructions. This is row 7 we just completed. So the next 2 rows we're just going to complete as we did before. We're going to do 3 front post double crochet and then 3 back post double crochet all the way across, just following along visually with what you already have. So if you have front post, work front post. If you have back post, work back post. And then after you work those 2 additional rows, remember every 3 rows. So after we finish row 9, row 10, we're going to go back to reversing it again, and we'll work 3 back post double crochets and then 3 front post double crochets. So that is the way this entire blanket is going to be worked. So go ahead and work your way through the yarn, and then I will show you how to finish off this project. Now that I've finished with 1 cake or scan of the yarn, I wanted to show you how these colors are coming out, and coming out quite lovely. Really enjoying the texture. It's going to be great for the feet. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull the color out of the center, and I want to show you how I generally connect my yarn, especially with projects like this where there's a lot of opportunity to hide these loose threads. I'm just going to take and hold the 2 threads together and then twist and pull it through, leaving a nice long section, as you know, so that I can hide it using my using my yarn needle. And you want to pull this kind of yarn gently, because if you pull too hard on this particular type of fiber, it will break. It will break off right in your hand, and you don't want that to happen. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to switch this around and show you how to hide that knot. I'm going to go ahead, and since this rug is reversible, you know, either side will be the front side facing, I'm going to have to hide this knot pretty carefully. So here's the knot here. I'm going to go ahead and pull that through, and let me do a couple more stitches as well, so it would be just easier to hide. Then I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'm showing this a little sooner. Usually I don't show this till the end of the project, but I know some of you may be worried about, you know, how to hide these knots when you connect. Okay, so now we have this nice long thread, and since they're so thick, I would try hiding one at a time, and using your yarn needle, you can thread it like this, and then I'm going to go down into the work much like this. And the nice thing about this kind of yarn is it's going to hide a lot. You're not going to see these threads once you hide them. Oops, and it just pulled through, and actually that's going to be enough. So I'm going to clip it right about like that, and I'm not going to worry about that because that's going to blend in and actually pull out, and you're not going to see that. Okay, let's go ahead and do the other one as well. I just hope you can see how easy this is. And with this, like I said before, this floofy style of yarn, it's very, very forgiving. And so I'm going to actually bring this over a little bit to the side. And then go down. Actually, let's go ahead and bring it back up again, so we don't have too much. And then I'll go down into this side, run it down into a stitch just like that, and let's pull it out. I think that's enough. Just go ahead and take that off, and I'm going to clip it a little bit close, but not too close because you don't want to cut your work. And there you have it, and that knot is gone, and we're just ready to continue on. Okay, so go ahead and continue on with this next scan or cake of yarn, and I will show you how to finish this up about the time that you run out of yarn. Okay, I've come all the way to the end, and let me show you how much yarn I have left. I have this much left of both of those scans or cakes of yarn. And I have repeated the 3 front post double crochet and 3 back post double crochet. After my first repeat, I've repeated it 8 more times. So if you count the sections like this as 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., I have 18 sections of these. And I'll give you the measurements in just a minute. Okay, so now I'm going to want to finish off this edge. I want to finish it off a little bit better than just leaving it with the double crochet. So I'm going to chain 1, and this might be a little tricky for beginners, but again, use your fingers, use the nerve endings to find where the hook needs to go. So we're going to work through the top loops only, and we're just going to do slip stitches across. And when we do that is we pull the yarn through and pull the yarn through. Go into the next stitch, pull the yarn through, pull the yarn through. We're not wrapping it at all. And this will give us a nice edge, which is going to be very similar to the edge which we started, which would be, you know, that chain that we first worked in. So go ahead and work these slip stitches all the way across. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer for you. The camera has too much to focus on at the moment. Pull it through, pull it through. Just want to make sure you see where I'm putting the hook. Just through the top 2 loops, pull it through, And you can see that's making a nice edge all the way across. One hint about doing this stitch is you want to be careful that you're not pulling it too tightly. If you find that it's bunching up your material, then you probably should bump up to a larger hook or just purpose to work a little more loosely, because this stitch does tend to pull. And with this yarn, with the friction and all, that can sometimes cause a problem. So I'm just pulling it a little bit on the looser side so that it has a really nice edge. So go ahead and finish that all the way across. I wanted to go ahead and work the last 2 stitches for you just to be clear. Go ahead and work a slip stitch in that last top of that front post double crochet, and then I'm going to go right into this big hole there, the turning chain space. Go ahead and work one there as well, and then go ahead and make a chain, pull it through, give it a tug. Let me find my handy dandy pair of scissors here. Make sure I leave a nice long strand, and I'm going to pull that all the way through and give it a tug. And I already showed you how to do this once before, but I'm going to do it one more time just for clarity's sake. I have about 2 strands to hide, this one and the one at the very beginning, because I already hid the yarn connection one earlier on. So go ahead and thread our yarn needle, and since this is reversible, it really doesn't matter how or what side you hide it on. And this yarn is so fluffy and soft, I promise you the strand is not going to be seen. So we want to make sure we do hide it well though. Go down into these fibers, and I'm only going to stick with the light pink color. I'm not going to try hiding this on any of the darker colors. And you know what, with all the friction of this yarn, that's going to be plenty. I'm going to clip this carefully, close, but don't want to cut your other crochet there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you this completed project.
Well, now that we're all done, I hope you enjoyed this project. Hope you had as much fun as I did making it. I do want to mention one thing as far as putting this on, let's say, a bathroom floor or a slick or hardwood kind of a floor, is you're going to want to get a piece of like a rubber mat. You can probably get at your local, I don't know, Walmart or hardware store, or even the kind of a rubber matting that you would put like a non-skid surface in your cupboard for your cups and things like that. I would cut a piece slightly smaller than the size of the rug and lay that on the floor or the smooth surface first, and then put this rug over it so that you don't get hurt, because this will be very slick and very slippery on a floor, that's smooth. Of course, if you're putting it on a carpeted surface, it's not a problem at all. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, if you could please hit that little bell and subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't want you to miss any of the new offerings that I have coming your way. Okay, well, God bless you guys. Bye-bye.